Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and whoop, hello. Does that? I don't think that duplicates the duplicate. I don't think that increases the duration. Holy shit, that was like all of my cookies. I think, maybe. I got 9 trillion cookies, and I just spent I think I just spent all of them doubling cookie duration. I think it was worth it, but I could be wrong. Anyway, hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome back to the next episode, another episode of the Cookie Cast. So I realized I missed a day. I was busy. I was very busy, sort of. I just too many things on my plate, too little time, and a lot of just stuff to work on. Namely, I've started a D&D campaign again, and it looks like we're doing kind of an 1 week on, 1 week off, which I think is actually a really good system. I'm going to forget about that garden, to be honest. I really should be turbo clicking on this now I'm thinking about it. Anyway, yeah, so 1 week on, 1 week off, and it's great. I absolutely love doing D&D again. It's huge. I was talking about this, I think, in the last episode, just in terms of retirement plans and things I want to do, but working on a D&D campaign again makes me feel creative, and not only just for D&D, but actually just for things in general. Like, I'm really excited to do all sorts of stuff now. Problem is time and time management, and it's something I think I'm always going to struggle with, because for me, there simply just is not enough time in my day and in my life to get everything that I want done. There's too many games coming out on a given weekly basis for me to actually, properly cover them all, and there's too many side projects that I want to get done sooner than later for me to actually properly succeed at getting them done sooner rather than later. So for example, I really want to get a bunch of video essays done. I've had a bunch of scripts ready for like months, but the matter is I still got to sit down, record them, and then really painstakingly go through and, add all the art and prep everything and so on and so forth. And that can be a bit of a chore. Let's see. Wow, these are all ridiculously expensive. Maybe I should have saved up for the kitten engineers instead. That might have actually been more... no. I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. My general assumption is that doubling my golden cookie length is going to be by and far the most valuable thing that I could have possibly done. I've got some money. I think just getting some portals down would do the trick. Let's see. So this should always be 2.5. So at this point, we want to switch over to Alchemy Labs and shipments. Alchemy Labs should always be 3 times shipments. And then Wizard Towers are, yeah, way off. I'll just get those shipments for the time being, then we'll think about the rest of this. Okay. So time management is my big issue. So I guess specifically I might as well just go over what happened in the last week and why my schedule is so messed up, and kind of just... I pointed all of the things that I do that are bad and all the things that I do are good. Just using the last week as an example. So, admittedly, my schedule is a little funky, and what I'm supposed to be using is a bullet journal. If you've never heard of a bullet journal before, it's effectively it's a planner. If you ever used a planner back in high school, or college, or elementary school, or middle school, or anything like that, you should know what a planner is. You have little segments for each day. You write down what you need to do. And when you're a kid, you don't want to do that. It's a pain in the butt. You can just remember it. It's not like you have a whole lot going on, and realistically, it seems kind of meaningless. And then when you're in college, you just don't even think about it anymore, because the idea of a planner is kind of a juvenile thing. Maybe if you're a really busy person, you'll do it, but you don't really need a planner, right? And let me tell you, having a planner, having a bullet journal that actually tabulates everything that you need to do, is huge. And I'm probably going to do a video on this, a separate video talking about bullet journals later, more or less just with scans upon scans of my weekly schedule, kind of talking about things. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard for me to remember everything that happens every week, but by writing some of this stuff down, it helps a lot. And maybe that's something I should actually consider doing, is actually writing major events that happened in my life down on the days that they go by. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, cookie production times 7 for 2.5 minutes. That sounds pretty dang solid. Let's, we got wizards, yeah? Bam. Promising fate. Cookie. Clicking power frenzy for 26 seconds. Alright, this seems ridiculous. I'm just gonna let that build up for a while. Not quite. I'm gonna grab that. There we go. I don't actually know if that was worth stepping away for, but I'm going to assume that that was very much worthwhile. We might also want to get some more wizard towers, though wizard towers are very expensive. Oh well. Anyway. Ooh. Antimatter condenser and more time machine. I mean, I've got a lot of cookies to spend now. I still think we need some more wizard towers to really speed up that wizard power generation. Is what it is. Okay, so yeah, I've got a bullet journal that I dole out for everything. And so just to look at the last week, effectively the first 3 days, I always start my weeks on Mondays. Mainly that's because that's when new games start coming out, and so it's kind of easier for me to keep track of things based on Mondays, as opposed to starting my week with Sunday, where generally Sunday is my last day to catch up on work from the last day. Or from the last day from the last week. Because nothing new crops up on a Sunday. You know, I don't get an email being like, oh man, Deathloop's coming out. Here's 2 keys so you can play the competitive version with your partner. Admittedly, I doubt I'm going to get one of those emails. I might, seeing as Microsoft actually has been kind of friendly lately about sending things out, but I don't know, I doubt it. But, you know, I don't get those emails on Sundays because nobody works on Sundays. So, for me, Monday is the start of the week, not Sunday. That's fine. Anyway, so I usually start with my bullet journal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a combined column for Saturday and Sunday because, once again, it's catch-up day. And so, unfortunately, for the past week, I was kind of lazy, and I was overwhelmed. I had too many things going on. I think I was just kind of tired. I frankly forget a little bit. I think most of my head space was focused on, wow, yeah. We've reset the timer on the cooking frenzy. I was really hoping it would double up for a hot second, because that'd be great. But alas, no dice. I should really probably spend some cookies if we're going to be like this. Do we want to just get the antimatter condenser and just see what happens? Sure, why not? 11 billion cookies, just from that dang thing. Whew. Whew. What else do I get? I think I'm going to get portals up to 15. Because we want to get the granny upgrade. Not as good as I thought it was going to be. But that's because I don't have the insane oatling workers. And we'll get macaroons while we're at it. Alright. So now my production is at 40 billion per second. That's pretty good. We are now solidly in the money. And there's a couple of upgrades that I'm looking forward to get. Anyway. So I think at the beginning of the week, I very much was focused on like finishing Psychonauts and maybe catching up on some one-offs and then new game releases. Unfortunately, like a fool, I didn't actually write anything down. So I wasn't even thinking about it. I was kind of tired, I was kind of grumpy, and I really wanted to take a day off, but I just had too much work to do. Then on Thursday, I realized that, like, I was overwhelmed on my work, and I waste a lot of brain space specifically thinking about what I need to be doing. And so, once again, going back to this bullet journal, by putting everything down, I can actually get a fairly clear idea of, like, what my to-do list is. Speaking of, I should probably actually bullet journal for the next week just to figure out what do I have left. Because, yeah, how many episodes of Psychonauts do I have prepped? The answer is none. I need to edit my last session and then prep all of the remaining 7 or 8 episodes that I've got sitting around. Might actually be more than that. You know, I gotta queue up the last of my Dice Legacy, I gotta queue up, you know, just a bunch of these other games. And it's fine, but by writing these down, it's so much easier to get it from my head onto paper, so it's no longer crowding my brain space. And I've noticed a number of my coping mechanisms for time management, and also just thought management, is trying to take as many of the thoughts crowding my head and getting them onto paper, so I don't have to think about them again. Or at least, so they're not currently rattling around in my head, and I can devote my time and my attention to more important things, as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, working on new videos, planning out campaigns, maybe getting back to writing, because that's something I want to do. Unfortunately, I need a tremendous amount of time to do that, and so what I'm probably going to do is just, like, try and jam it in next month and get ahead on NaNoWriMo if I want to start writing a book, maybe. I'll get to it at some point. Okay. Considering I'm getting a gazillion amount of cookies from these portals, because the portals are making up 50, yeah, near 50%. Let's just boost that. That was not nearly as impactful as I thought it was going to be. I'll have to think about what to do with sugar lumps. Ooh. Okay, I could invest in alchemy labs. Up to the point. And we can, for 38 trillion more or less, we can get that. Time machines are twice as efficient. That's not that helpful. Anything else we have here? Because I know the Bingo Center and Research Facility regularly unlocks new upgrades. That sounds really good, but it's also costs quadrillions, which is kind of expensive. The other one that would be useful is like the Eulidium Mouse. That seems like that might be decent. I don't know. Anyway, let's just go back to this. Okay, so by writing everything down, I really get my thoughts on paper and I don't have to think about them. It's easier to keep track of everything. And honestly, I think this is true for even just like video essays and whatnot. You know, just by writing my notes down, I will be able to be much more on topic. So, to go back to looking at my week, Thursday rolls around, day before my birthday, which is kind of frustrating to begin with, just because my birthday is always kind of hit and miss for me. Sometimes my birthday is great, sometimes my birthday is an absolute mess, and so I kind of almost obstinately refuse to plan around it. And so, oh right, that was one of the other things, was that we were planning Wholesomeverse Live for last week, and like nobody was around, so I spent a lot of time just perseverating over like, yeah, what did we play? I ended up buying everybody Pulsar, and it turned out to be really fun, and I want to get a group together for another session of Pulsar at some point, but that's neither here nor there. But I effectively got around to, I got around to Thursday and realized that I was overwhelmed. I really need to sit down and actually just write down basic things I need to do. So I wrote down all of the games that came out that week, which pretty much all came out that day, that Thursday, as well as, you know, prepping videos, clips, Life is Strange, Tales of Arise, which I didn't end up covering because the characters yelled too much in that one. It was just impossible to get a word in edgewise. Let's see, and also prepping some scripts and brainstorming adventure ideas for my next D&D campaign. So I actually finished a number of those. And then the rest of the weekend was mostly just like play Artful Escape, play Lost in Random, play Kraken Academy, which I've actually totally forgotten about and only just reminded myself that it exists. They sent me a key, so I should probably sit down and do that. And then my note for today was, well, I guess today, yesterday, as far as when this video came out, is just Arborea's sponsored video. And then for this upcoming week, all I have is just like the games coming out, which, by the way, there are 10 games, 12 games. I forgot, because Deathloop comes out on Tuesday. Tuesday? No, it comes out on, yeah, Tuesday. I'm writing that down. And that might even come out on like 9 o'clock tomorrow night, so we'll see how it goes. Cookie production. Yeah, that just keeps resetting. I love the extra duration. That's super handy. I don't know. Anyway, so by writing all these things down, it's a lot easier for me to at least keep track of what I'm doing. And by doing so, it frees up a bunch of brain space for me so that I waste less time trying to think of what I need to do and can spend more of my time specifically working on whatever I need to be working on, and can also kind of rest, so my downtime is a little bit more fruitful, because it's not as convenient, you know, just kicking back and trying to relax when you're sitting there being like, okay, I need to record this, I need to prep this, I need to do this, I need to brainstorm some topics for the cookie cast, which is, you know, one of the things that I really need to do is just make a giant mega list of things to talk about. I did reach out to, you know, people at the very beginning of this asking for topics, but I'd like to do it again. And eventually what I'd like to do is move this whole thing off to probably Wanderbot Prime as a much less frequent show, where I do proper research and maybe focus a little bit more on games. I've been using the Cookie Cast more to talk about kind of life things, because it's kind of one of those, you guys have probably noticed in a number of my videos, I often will vent about something that's bothering me or something that's been on my mind. But when I'm playing a video game that I actually have to focus on, it's really hard to keep my thoughts in order and like really get the point across. And so I might loop on the same topic, you know, a couple of different times before I eventually stop talking about it, because I feel like I've finally said my piece, or I've managed to settle the issue, whatever it is. And so, you know, that's kind of I'm not going to say neither here nor there thing, but it's something that I have to kind of work on and work around. But so CookieCast for me lets me kind of vent about life stuff in a safe and controlled manner where there's not a whole lot of distractions. You know, mostly I'm just kind of looking at this, waiting for the next cookie to pop up and saving for 50 trillion cookies, which is going to take a while, which is fine. Anyway, so beyond that, how do I manage my time? Well, the biggest issue for the most part is just that, you know, many of my current tasks and projects do actually require a tremendous amount of time. Every episode of the CookieCast takes at least 40 minutes to 50 minutes to prep, you know, 30 to 40 minutes to record, maybe a little bit over, plus 5 to 10 minutes to prep and get the video queued up. That's an hour of my day every single day. Now, the trick is, honestly, to actually batch record, you know, record multiple in a row. If I could do 3 at a time, the editing and prepping is much faster because I can copy and paste all the details all at once and, you know, have the Photoshop document up. So the first way that I really manage my time better, and I don't do this very well, is by doing as much as I can all at once. So the most comfortable thing for me in life is actually to have an entire series recorded in advance or just way ahead, so I can just put out the content or even spend, you know, some amount of an afternoon just kicking back and just kicking back and relaxing. Or sorry, no. I spend an entire afternoon or evening queuing up all these videos so then I can kick back and relax. And if I can do that for like 5 series at once, like a whole week ahead, that gives me a whole week of extra time to focus on video essays, D&D campaigns, recording more things, prepping more series. And so the further ahead I get, the more free time I end up feeling like I have. The flip side of that is, if I'm ever on the back foot, if I'm ever recording, say, a CookieCast on the day that it comes out, that's a full 50 minutes jammed in around many other kind of last minute things that I need to do. And so that can actually become quite problematic. And so the main thing that I would say as far as time management goes is trying to be so far ahead of my own workload that I barely have anything that I'm doing last minute. And I think this is completely opposite to what I did back in college. In college, it was very much just like, oh shit, I got a project due tomorrow. You know, let's blitz it out overnight. And that was fine when I was younger. But now that I'm older, that's not so great. You know, I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. And I actually canceled the stream today for 2 reasons. 1, I needed some time off. 2, I had a bad headache and my eyes were all kind of swimmy because I didn't sleep enough. And I just did not want to work. I wanted to play Guild Wars and I wanted to do other things. I wanted to get Thai food, which ended up being a bit of a disaster in its own right. They gave me seafood curry instead of duck curry. And I realized that duck and squids are both fish, but one of those I will eat and the other I will not. And they also made it way too spicy, so we had to be like, you gave us the wrong order, give me my money back. Which I always feel really guilty about. And that's a separate thing entirely that I'll probably talk about someday. But so, you know, truly what ended up happening was I ran out of time. And yeah, sure, I could have jammed a stream in today, but I realized that I was going to stress myself out by doing so in a way that, yeah, it wasn't just wasn't going to be healthy for me. So I just said, you know what, screw it. No stream today. I'll be streaming Deathloop on Tuesday anyway, or something else on Tuesday. And that'll just kind of be it. And maybe that's kind of one of the things I need to start doing, is actually saying like, hey, I just can't stream today. I either have too much work to do, or if I'm just not feeling it. So in my case, I'm so far ahead on my recordings that I actually did not need to stream. Normally, what I do as one of my other time saving measures is actually by streaming large swaths of content. And I realize this is kind of a hit and miss strategy, and it's something I will talk about later. Double dipping, I guess. Well, I mean, I guess double dipping is part of this, though, for a lot of things. But by double dipping, you know, I can stream, but I can also create YouTube content that I then put on the channel. By double dipping, I can effectively have that live audience experience if people want to watch it there, and I can also put it on YouTube. And it's a good focus tool because I can say record, let's say Arborea for like 4 or 5 hours tomorrow. And maybe it won't get that far, but you know, if I only get 3 hours in and then I stop, that's fine too, because maybe I didn't want to play for 5 hours. Maybe the game's not good enough for that, and then I just kind of call it quits. And so I could potentially record an entire series in an afternoon, depending on how long the game is. So for me with Dice Legacy, that was just one sitting. I recorded the whole thing in one go over the course of like 3.5 hours, give or take. It ran a little long, but then I was done, and then I could just edit it up that night and prep it, and then upload it over the next couple of days. And it was really convenient because I was that far ahead, and now I can just not think about Dice Legacy ever again. Unless I want to play it again, but that's a separate thing. And so that big batch work, you know, so if I spend hours and hours recording a thing and then hours and hours editing tons of things, you know, if I can really sit down and edit for an hour, I can get nearly 30-40 episodes of content done, assuming I have all of that stuff available to be edited, and I do. My backlog is absurd. But, you know, if I'm doing it piecemeal, it slows down tremendously. And so really what I need to be doing is mass production if I want to save myself time. The other thing to say about time management is getting enough sleep. It's weird. You'd think pulling an all-nighter, getting whatever you need done helps. I was up until 5:30 last night prepping things. And between about 2 a.m. and 5:30, I got maybe 20% done than I could have done that morning instead. But the problem is, specifically for last night, I needed something done, specifically for Good Shepherd. I was going to send them off, you know, a bunch of videos. I needed that done before I went to bed because they wake up 3 hours before me at least, and needed it right away in the morning. And then I screwed it up. I sent them privated videos, and they needed that public, so I had to wake up early to send it off to them. Luckily, I had the kind of like sixth sense of like, I need to wake up and check to make sure that this worked right. And I didn't, and then it was like, oh shoot, alright. And luckily it worked out there, but it was still just kind of this like weird panic moment of like, oh no, I screwed up, and I stayed up really late last night for almost no reason. That was fun. But getting enough sleep is huge. You are so much more productive when you've actually slept, when you're rested, when you've recovered, when you feel good, not physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so self-care is actually one of the biggest time-saving things I can say that I don't do and should do more of. So like exercise. Exercise makes you feel like shit in the immediacy, but in the long term, it makes you feel better. Same thing as eating healthy, cooking proper meals. And so one of the things we've been kind of slacking on recently is we haven't really been making big meals, or like really good meals. It's been a little bit more takeout. It's been a little bit more quick microwaved oven stuff. And I think a lot of that is kind of my fault because of my work schedule. You know, we've been like, well, easy example is like, hey, we're going to be streaming blah, blah, blah in the evening. And so we don't have as much time for cooking, or we just don't feel well because we didn't sleep well. And so it's just kind of like, yeah, we don't really feel like spending an hour in the kitchen prepping a good meal. Yeah, Shell doesn't want to be cooking a meal for that long when she's not feeling well. I'm usually just a potato, because she is the far better cook, and also we have a small kitchen. And so by actually devoting the time to getting a good meal done, you feel better, and you don't have to worry as much. And one of the other things is also, you know, letting all the dishes stack up. Admittedly, that's something that I kind of like doing, you know. It's like, oh shoot, I've got several days worth of dishes stacked up in the sink. Let's just wash them all at once. It takes about half an hour, and then it's done and it's clean for about 12 hours, and then it gets messy the next day almost immediately. It's a trade-off. But so self-care as part of this is kind of important, because if you're not, yeah, I find when I haven't been practicing self-care, when I've just been kind of letting everything slip, what the hell am I saving for? I've just been accumulating cookies. I don't know, do we want to just get like a gazillion wizard's towers real quick? I think so. They're not... Yeah, how much are they worth? 3 million. I mean, oh gosh, that's expensive. Main reason why I was thinking of going for the Wizard's Towers is now we have a lot faster generation. Kind of. Of course, the cost for the upgrade I'm looking for has gone up as well, so it's really a trade-off. It's fine. The more space I have, the more capacity I have, the faster that generates, and the less it depletes. And eventually, if I can get 2 of those off at once, boy howdy, I bet we're going to generate a lot of cookies real quick. Anyway. But, so if I'm not feeling well, emotionally, physically, or, mentally, or anything like that, if I'm not feeling well, I find I doom scroll more. And so, I find myself listlessly scrolling social media, browsing for comments, trying to find a video to pick myself back up again or something like that. And those doom scrolly, listless browsing moments are actually quite brutal on my schedule, because I'm effectively stealing 10 to 20 minutes here and there from myself. Over and over the course of a day. I could easily lose 2 hours out of by just losing 10 minutes here and there. And that's 2 hours that I really could have spent if I was feeling well, focused, and motivated. If I was feeling well, focused, and motivated, I could have sat down and gotten a lot done in those 2 hours. But because I've squandered those 2 hours, it's time I don't get back, and it's time that it's almost negative that, scrolling through social media, you feel like you're just searching for something, some kind of validation, some kind of entertainment. Maybe you find it, probably you don't. And it often feels like, hey, I just spent, 10 minutes doing this. Did I gain anything from that? No. And then I keep scrolling because I'm looking for that validation, and that 10 minutes turns into half an hour. I lay down for a nap, and instead I find myself just flipping through my phone instead, and it's like, wait, why am I doing this? And so, honestly, one of the biggest time-saving things I can think of is straight up just turning my phone off, keeping it in another room, not looking at it. Or, only looking at it for set periods of time, very limited set periods of time, so I don't have to think or worry about, losing all this time here and there on the day, over the course of the day. It's tough. Social media is very addicting, and that's kind of frustrating to deal with. And yeah, it makes me upset. Or bitter and angry, or a lot of other things. Especially nowadays, there's a lot of negative emotions. And I wish I could find some kind of space where it's generally only enrichment and positivity, but I don't feel like social media, with its algorithm-driven nature, is really the source of that. I think the only thing I can think of as far as like sites that really pull that off, at least for me, is kind of YouTube. I'll just throw on a particularly novel video that's like 10 to 30 minutes long, and maybe it's still kind of time wasted, but at least from my perspective, it rarely feels like it was a negative experience. So I could watch any number of different creators. Let's go with Mandalore. I love watching his videos because it feels like maybe I'm not improving as a commentator, but there's stuff that I can learn from that. And also, the way he handles his videos is very impressive and, kind of inspiring, because I want to do the same thing, kind of, but I want to do my own spin on it, so I don't know. But so whenever I load up one of those videos, I feel at least moderately enriched. I think this is true of a lot of video essays and kind of poignant topics. Yeah, let's summon another one of these. Backfire, Sinister Fate. Oh no. I'm going to just very quickly spend all of my cookies. Boop. Cookie production halved for 2 minutes. Oh, well, that's fine. I think we've actually got a bit of a net positive with that regardless. Anyway, gosh, yeah, what else do I do for time management and whatnot? I guess one of the other things, I'm not going to call it a time management thing, but I try very hard to, I don't want to say make my work fun, because I feel like that's a bad way of putting it. I wouldn't even call this like good time management, but the answer is just like, I think this is a mistake to admit to myself, and a mistake that I've even gone this direction with my life, but I've made everything that I enjoy into my job and vice versa. I think by enjoying my work, I have a lot more time to work, and I think that's a mistake. But I think it's also kind of valuable for me, because there's so many things that I think I wouldn't be motivated to do if it wasn't for me turning it into my job. You know, let's go with a D&D campaign. I'd still probably be seeking out a D&D campaign, but would I have players that I could pull in frequently? Would I put as much effort into the assets? Would I, be as consistent with it? No, I don't think I would. Video essays, and even the stuff like the cookie cast. Would I be doing this normally if it wasn't part of my job? No. I mean, I'd probably talk to people about it, maybe I'd occasionally post on social media, but kind of my own self-care is committing to projects and getting things out of my head, and I think that would be so much tougher if I wasn't doing it as part of this. And maybe many of my passions wouldn't even exist. You know, maybe I'd be much more comfortable with just playing, video games on my day off, or going out hiking on my day off. If there wasn't kind of this pressure to keep creating and doing things. And maybe part of it is just like hobbies. Positive and negative. Having all these hobbies ruins my time management, but at the same time enriches me as a person. And I think if the world was in a better place, I think all of my problems would start disappearing a little bit, but that's kind of neither here nor there. You can't exactly, beg the world to be good enough so I can have a break. I mean, I could, but I don't think I'd actually get a lot of positive responses from the world as a result. Anyway, let's buy one more wizard tower. I don't think that gets me an achievement. Nah, it does not. It's fine. Trying to think if there's anything else. Unfortunately, this is why I need to actually write down ways that I keep track of everything. I guess the other thing I do is just try and very much keep track of like what videos are going out on what days. Spreadsheets and planners are incredibly useful, and I think I will stand by them as far as keeping my life in order. This is something I will probably come back to as a video essay with like much more specific information and like a rigorous look at how I manage my time, for better or worse. But I just kind of wanted to talk about it today, mostly just to order my thoughts on the idea of time management and what I personally can do to improve, which is, namely, get everything done ahead of time. Sometimes it's okay to accept that I can't get all my work done, and instead of scrambling to get it done last minute, just put it off for one more day and spend the time that I would have been scrambling to instead take my time with it, do it right, and get more done as a result. Obviously, that doesn't work if I have a time limited thing, or some commitment that is external to somebody else. I can't really procrastinate those one more day, and oftentimes those are the ones that I actually procrastinate the most, which is a mistake. So yeah, really just get everything done earlier if possible, instead of leaving it up to the last minute. Which is odd. I think that's actually kind of the most universal time management advice anybody could get or give, is just stop procrastinating. It solves nothing. Also, stay off social media. It actively hurts you. That's it. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of circular and, I don't want to call it fruitless, because I definitely have resolved myself a little bit more to stay off my phone. And get more stuff done as a result, just by talking about it and thinking about just how much time I lose. Because, like, how much time you lose in the act of just browsing your phone, but at the same time, I think by truly, like, just sitting down and admitting that I have a problem with it, it's like, oh yeah, I really do need to just stop that, as opposed to just being... It's kind of like, yeah, I know I have a problem and I can stop whenever I want, but now that I've said it out loud and kind of admitted to it publicly, it's like, oh yeah, shoot, I actually really do need to stop doing this. Yeah, no. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Cookie Cast, and I will see you all on the next one. I don't know what it's going to be. I really got to write down some topics before I dive into the next one, so I can really kind of order my thoughts on them. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.